Some ways you can overcome analysis paralysis. How's that?
Just say some ways you can overcome analysis
That's what I
paralysis
just
are,
said.
and then just jump into it.
Some ways you can overcome analysis paralysis are. Oh, all right, I got it. Stop making me laugh.
Or you can just say,
What's going on, bosses? My name is Kat.
and I'm Josiah.
And this is
Boss Up With Us, the channel that's all about personal development, finance, and entrepreneurship for individuals, groups, and couples like ourselves. On today's episode, we're going to be discussing how to boss up and stop overthinking.
So we'll be discussing what analysis paralysis is and how it can affect your personal life, love life, and financial well-being. And lastly, how to overcome it. So before we jump into today's episode, we're going to get into our midweek wrap-up. And this past week, Josiah and I have been discussing ways in which we can expand our online reselling business. And we've gone ahead and purchased our very first pallet, which actually came in the mail today.
So this pallet had about 75 products in it, all varying products with different prices. So we're excited to get into that. We'll be sharing stories from that journey with you guys as well as time goes on.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump into today's episode. Analysis paralysis is overthinking or overanalyzing to the point where you become paralyzed from taking action.
So analysis paralysis is like a fancy term for procrastination, which is already kind of a fancy term, right? Procrastination. It's kind of like a SAT word.
And it can affect your personal life, your love life, and financial well-being, as we stated earlier. And in the context that, it can prevent you from going back to school after a bunch of years, or going back to the gym, starting a weight loss journey, leaving a toxic job.
And your love life, it can stop you from going out and getting that girl or going out and getting that guy. It can also cause you to be in a relationship and just start overthinking about stuff and thinking that you know what a person is thinking and what their intentions are, and that just stops you from having a conversation to actually break that barrier and understand each other. So analysis paralysis is very problematic when you're trying to get to know somebody and get to understand somebody. And then financially, analysis paralysis will stop us from starting those businesses, buying those stocks. It'll just limit our creativity when it comes to money. So in terms of businesses, you probably think and read 50 books about how to start this one business, and then you never actually get it started.
Even for myself, when Josiah and I first met, I was the one that actually proposed the idea of e-commerce, and I did so much research on it continuously, nonstop, and I actually didn't start the business until Josiah came along, and 2.5 years later he kind of lit the fire underneath me. But it's just a notion that this was something that I had slept on for years. And it could have been successful. I don't know where it could have been now, but I have him here, which is great.
What?
I know.
And there was once a time where I was very hesitant to start businesses and start investing my own money because I just didn't know. Now, another aspect of having analysis paralysis with your finances is when you see people hesitating to buy stocks. There's like 7 million different apps that we can download where we can start stock investing with like $1. It's actually something that I've recently gotten into. I have friends that are heavily involved in stocks and buying stocks. And so I've been learning a lot from them. And I was even at a point where I was myself saying, you know what, I'm gonna wait. I want to read a little bit more on this because I'm doing so many different things. And then I was like, you know what, let me just get into it. Let me just try it. Put a little money into the market, play with things. I know that I'm putting myself at risk, but as we know, being a boss, being an entrepreneur involves taking risks. If you want to take control of your life, you have to take risks. So I put a little money into the market and I've been investing ever since. Now I have a little portfolio, and I actually helped Kat get started investing as well. So she has some money in there now too. So
I put my little $300 in there, but it's a start.
That's the main thing. You want to start. And when you start, who knows where the journey can go.
So ways in which you can overcome analysis paralysis. So for me personally, I am definitely the overthinker in the relationship. I read and I research and I read and I research time and time again, over and over. And I do suffer from that analysis paralysis. I do become paralyzed from taking action. But definitely in 2020, I have gone ahead and done the things I said I wanted to do. Yeah. And YouTube is a perfect example. I have been wanting to start a YouTube channel for about 3 or 4 years now. And I even got equipment for the channel, and it was sitting in my house for years. And I came across, it's true, like I came across Josiah, and we had this idea. Oh, that's okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
So we had this idea. He actually proposed the idea for the channel itself, and we just got to it. Same thing with school. I took a break after graduating with my undergraduate degree, and I went back and forth with the idea of going back to school for 2.5 years. And I finally decided, you know what? Just do it. And I'm almost done. I got one more semester left. So, in terms of the e-commerce business, as I said, this was my idea. It was my idea in the beginning, and I actually introduced it to Josiah because he really didn't know what it was. And I did research on it, and I sat on it for years. So basically what we're trying to get at here is taking a risk and getting things done.
As you can tell by what Kat said, if you bring up an idea around me, if you bring up a business idea around me, an investment idea around me, then I'm probably going to take interest in it, and I'm going to look it up, and I'm going to find out how to get it done and how to get it started. As I told you guys, I quit my job at the top of the year. Obviously, that's a decision that takes a lot of thinking, a lot of planning, a lot of analyzing. And so I spent some time, probably a year. Was it a year or was it like a year and a half? I think it was like a year.
Yeah.
It was like a year. I was thinking about it, and I was talking to myself about it. I was talking to Kat about it. I was talking to family and friends about it. And, I was just educating myself on what I have to do in order to be successful after quitting my job. But I ultimately made the decision. Like I said before, bosses have to make decisions. We all have to make decisions. If you ever want to take control of your life, you have to make decisions. Decisions can either be right or wrong, but at the end of the day, make sure that you always grow from whatever decision it is that you made. People are oftentimes fearful that their decisions will result in failure. And in order to be successful, you have to embrace failure. So you can read as many books as you want, but you're never going to actually see the fruits of any type of labor until you do the labor.
So one of the ways you can overcome analysis paralysis is through preparation. So as we've been saying, read and do research, but don't become obsessed and stagnant.
Preparation, but not over preparation, meaning set goals for yourself. It's very important to set actionable goals. Maybe you say, I'm going to research this for an hour, or I'm going to do this on Friday, and you actually do it. It's very important to write it down. And I say write it down because a lot of times we leave things up in our head, and that's how we end up procrastinating, because
we forget.
We forget. So having a journal, having a calendar, having a planner, having a whiteboard, or just pick up a piece of paper and just start writing down your ideas. I promise you that if you do that, that'll immediately increase your chances of being successful.
But write it down and also go back and look at it.
Yeah.
Because some people will write it down and then completely forget about it.
Absolutely.
So I have a planner personally, and I carry it in my bag with me, and I write down things for the month.
I have a big dry erase calendar at the foot of my bed that I wake up and see every single morning. I wake up and I make it a priority to look at that calendar. Then I go over and I look at my daily planner that I have, where I write down the things that I need to do every single day. I also journal. You can get a journal to write down all of your thoughts and all of your ideas, and then use the calendar and use the planner to actually set those actionable goals that you want to accomplish. Another thing that I have is I wrote down my own affirmations, and I put it on what do you call those boards? Oh, I put it on a canvas.
I'm looking at the board. I'm like, I don't even know the name of it, but it's there.
I actually put it on a canvas and I hung it up right next to my calendar. So that's another thing I look at every day when I wake up, and I look at it again before I go to sleep to make sure that, I'm being my best possible self. I'm doing the things that I said that I'm going to do. Another way to overcome analysis paralysis is to create accountability groups with your friends. I have an accountability group chat with some of my friends. I have conversations with my friends about being accountable. I have businesses with my friends, and so it's very important for us to surround ourselves with like-minded individuals. Accountability groups are important because you have people on the other side that are checking in on you to say, hey, did you do what you said you were going to do? For me, that might be, hey, what's up with that vending machine that you said that you were going to set up in that location? How's your online reselling business doing? What's your real estate like? And in addition to having those accountability groups, it's important to have a partner that's checking on your well-being and holding you accountable for stuff. I hold Kat accountable for things.
He does.
She holds me accountable for things.
Definitely he'll check in and say, hey, what's going on with that project we were working on for school?
Yeah.
And I've asked him several times, even over the pandemic, hey, what's going on with your real estate business? I know you're not able to travel as much, but what are you still doing in the meantime?
So just keeping the communication. And those accountability groups also spill over into like social media, where you have like Facebook groups where people just go and they share their thoughts and ideas, and everybody's just building each other up, surrounding themselves with positivity and like-minded individuals. In addition to those groups, we all know that we live in a social media society. A lot of us spend a lot of time on Instagram. Scrolling all day, looking at funny videos, looking at gossip.
About celebrities, yeah.
Might be looking at some girls, looking at some guys. If you're female, that's what girls do. Is that what y'all do? Y'all be like, fuck.
I plead the fifth.
Good answer.
I plead the fifth.
Good answer. One of the things that I do, and I encourage anybody that has a big picture to do, is follow people that are doing the things that you want to do or the things that you're doing. I promise you, it'll increase your motivation. It'll keep you encouraged. It'll keep you pushing. I say it all the time. I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm still in the early stages of my entrepreneurship journey. And so it's important for me to follow people that are already at the point that I want to be at. It's important for me to follow people that are doing the things that I want to do. So I follow probably 100, 150 different entrepreneur influencers, or just people doing the different things that I'm doing in all of my businesses and, you know, in my life.
Josiah has encouraged me to do the same as well. I'm starting to now get into following entrepreneurs and people that are doing the same things that we do. And it really does change your mindset when you're scrolling down your feed and you're reading somebody that is doing the things that you want to do and they're getting it done. It's inspiration for you, and it's also another confirmation that, wow, they did it, I can do it too.
Absolutely.
And that can definitely help with the overthinking. Like, I'm seeing it on a daily basis being done. All right, let me go ahead and start putting those actionable goals in place so I can get to that point too.
Yeah.
So it serves as a reminder.
And that pertains to Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat,
Wait, TikTok?
YouTube.
I don't know about TikTok.
I'm not
YouTube,
too familiar with
YouTube,
I'm not too
and
familiar with
Instagram
TikTok.
and Facebook for sure.
So that means that you should subscribe to our channel. That means that you should like us on Facebook, you should follow us on Instagram, you should follow us on Twitter, because if you're watching this video, then that means that you're probably trying to do some of the things that we're doing.
Yeah.
Or your big picture aligns with our big picture. And like I said, our big picture for this channel is to discuss personal development, finance, and entrepreneurship. We want everybody to be in control of their lives. We want everyone to be bossing up. We want us all to be bosses. We all need to be making boss decisions and just flourishing, flourishing together. We understand, again, like I said, this journey entails failure and it also entails success. The important thing is to learn from your failures. Analysis paralysis is very closely associated with fear. We cannot be fearful if we want to be in control of our lives. We cannot be fearful if we want to be bosses. It just doesn't make any sense.
And another thing too is that you don't want to constantly be walking around years later. What if I would have did this? What if that is that's the worst. That's the worst feeling in the world.
Worst.
So taking action, taking risks, taking control of your life. Life is too short, y'all.
Yes. Yes.
That's how I've been living 2020. Like, life is way too short. Just go ahead and take risks and get things done.
Yeah.
Just do it like Nike. Okay, bosses. So that concludes today's episode on analysis paralysis and overthinking and how to overcome it. So please, you guys, of course, leave comments, share your feedback, give the video a thumbs up, turn your notifications on so you can get reminded every Wednesday at 7 p.m. when we drop a new video. And until next week, keep growing, keep glowing, and keep bossing us.